Excellent. Lesson 4 is one of the most practical lessons in the professional level. This is where learners begin performing one of the core responsibilities expected of an HSE officer on almost every construction and oil and gas project. Unlike a risk assessment, which evaluates the overall activity, and a method statement, which explain how the work should be done, a job safety analysis, JSA, examines each work step individually, identifies hazards at each stage, and specifies controls before the task proceeds. KayHab 17 HSE Global Safety Leader Professional Training Academy. Module 9, Advanced Risk Management and Work Planning. Lesson 4, Job Safety Analysis, JSA. Wide aerial shot of a large petrochemical facility. Workers are preparing for a hot work activity inside a process plant. Supervisors review documents while the HSE officer gathers a crew around a JSA board. Welcome back to KayHab 17 Academy. So far in Module 9, you've learned how to identify hazards professionally, evaluate risks using structured risk assessments, and develop method statements that provide safe systems of work. Today, we move one step further. Imagine you are assigned as the HSE officer for critical maintenance activity inside an operating process plant. The risk assessment has been approved. The method statement has been signed. But before anyone starts work, you gather the team together. You ask one simple question. Let's go through this job step by step. What could go wrong at each stage? That discussion is called a job safety analysis, or JSA. A JSA is one of the most powerful tools available to HSE professionals because it transforms safety planning into practical action. Instead of looking at a task as one large activity, it breaks the job into manageable steps, allowing hazards to be identified and controlled before they cause harm. By the end of this lesson, you will understand how to prepare a professional JSA that meets industry expectations in construction, oil and gas, petrochemical, manufacturing, and infrastructure projects. Let's begin. Learning objectives. After completing this lesson, you should be able to white-heavy checkmark explain the purpose of a job safety analysis. White-heavy checkmark distinguish between a risk assessment, a method statement, and a JSA. White-heavy checkmark break complex work into logical task steps. White-heavy checkmark identify hazards associated with each step. White-heavy checkmark select appropriate control measures. White-heavy checkmark verify that controls are effective before work begins. White-heavy checkmark develop a professional JSA for hot work inside a process plant. What is a job safety analysis? A job safety analysis is a structured process that examines a job step by step, identifying hazards associated with each stage and determining the safest way to perform the task. Unlike a risk assessment, which considers the overall activity, a JSA focuses on the sequence of work. It asks, what is the first step? What hazards exist during that step? How can those hazards be controlled? Is it safe to move to the next step? This systematic approach helps prevent important hazards from being overlooked. Although ISO 45001 does not prescribe a specific JSA format, its principles of operational planning, worker participation, and hazard identification strongly support the use of JSAs for high-risk activities. Similarly, NEBOSH and IOSH promote task-based hazard analysis as an essential element of safe systems of work. Risk assessment versus method statement versus JSA. One of the most common areas of confusion among new HSE officers is understanding the difference between these three documents. Let's clarify them. Risk assessment. Answers. What could hurt people? It identifies hazards, evaluates risks, and determines appropriate controls. Method statement. Answers. How will the work be carried out safely? It explains the overall procedure, responsibilities, equipment, permits, and emergency arrangements. Job safety analysis. Answers. What hazards exist during each work step? It focuses on the practical execution of the task, one step at a time. Think of it this way. Risk assessment equals why control is needed. Method statement equals how the work will be performed. JSA equals how each step will be completed safely. Professional HSE officers use all three together, not as separate documents, but as complementary tools. Why break work into steps? Imagine instructing a crew to perform hot work inside a process plant. If you simply write, carry out welding safely, you have overlooked numerous individual hazards. Instead, break the job into logical stages. For example, receive permit to work, Inspect the work area. Verify gas testing results. Isolate nearby combustible materials. Position fire extinguisher. Set up welding equipment. Perform welding. Monitor for sparks. Inspect completed work. Restore the area and close the permit. Each step introduces different hazards requiring different controls. Breaking work into smaller stages allows hazards to be identified with much greater accuracy. Component of a professional JSA. A professional JSA typically contains the following columns. Task step. Describe one specific action. Hazard. Identify what could cause harm during that step. Potential consequences. Describe the possible outcome if the hazard is not controlled. Control measures. Specify practical actions to eliminate or reduce the risk. Responsible person. Identify who is responsible for implementing the controls. Verification. Confirm that the controls have been implemented before proceeding. This structured approach promotes accountability and consistency. Hazard identification within each step. Let's examine one work step. Step. Set up welding machine. Possible hazards include electric shock, damaged cables, trip hazards, fire, incorrect grounding, equipment failure. Potential consequences include burns, electrocution, fire outbreak, equipment damage. Control measures may include inspect equipment before use, verify electrical grounding, remove damaged cable from service, keep cables clear of walkways, ensure a fire extinguisher is available, confirm operator competency. Notice how one simple work step contains multiple hazards. This level of detail is what distinguishes professional planning. Verification before work starts. Many organizations prepare excellent JSAs but fail to verify that controls have actually been implemented. Verification means confirming that the planned controls exist in the field. For example, is a permit to work valid? Has gas testing been completed? Are barricades installed? Is a fire extinguisher available? Is rescue equipment present? Have workers signed the JSA? Has the toolbox talk been completed? Professional HSE officers trust, but verify. Case study. Hot work inside a process plant. You have been assigned as the HSE officer for maintenance welding inside an operating process unit. Before work begins, your JSA includes Step 1. Obtain hot work permit. Hazard. Unauthorized work. Control. Permit approved by authorized personnel. Step 2. Conduct gas testing. Hazard. Flammable atmosphere. Control. Atmosphere confirmed within acceptable limits. Continuous monitoring arranged. Step 3. Establish work area. Hazard. Unauthorized entry. Control. Barricades installed. Warning signs displayed. Step 4. Prepare welding equipment. Hazard. Electrical shock. Control. Inspect cables. Verify grounding. Step 5. Carry out welding. Hazard. Fire and explosion. Control. Dedicated fire watch. Fire extinguisher nearby. Combustible materials removed. Step 6. Inspect work area after completion. Hazard. Hidden ignition sources. Control. Fire watch remained for required monitoring period. Permit closed only after final inspection. Each step contains its own hazards and controls. This systematic process significantly reduces the likelihood of incidents. Common mistakes. New HSE officers often skip important work steps. Combine several tasks into one line. Write vague hazards. Use generic controls copied from previous JSAs. Ignore verification. Fail to involve the workers performing the task. Remember, workers often know practical hazards better than anyone else. Their participation improves the quality of the JSA. Best practice. Experienced HSE professionals. Visit the work area. Observe the task before writing the JSA. Involve supervisors and workers. Break work into logical steps. Use clear, practical language. Verify controls before work begins. Review the JSA whenever conditions change. Stop work if new hazards emerge. A JSA is not a document to satisfy an audit. It is a communication tool that protects people. Practical exercise. Develop a job safety analysis for replacing a damaged valve in an operating process plant. Include work steps, hazards, potential consequences, control measures, Responsible persons. Verification requirements. Then compare your JSA with a colleague's version. Discuss any hazards or controls that may have been overlooked. Pause for reflection. Imagine you are leading today's toolbox talk. A worker says, "We've done this job many times. We don't need to review the JSA again." How would you respond? Would you accept that explanation? Or would you insist on reviewing the JSA because today's conditions may be different from yesterday's? Professional HSE officers know that familiarity can lead to complacency. Knowledge check. What is the main purpose of a job safety analysis? Explain the difference between a risk assessment, a method statement, and a JSA. Why should work be broken into individual task steps? What is verification, and why is it important? Why should workers participate in developing a JSA? Lesson summary. Today, you learned that a job safety analysis is a practical planning tool that examines work step by step, identifies hazards at each stage, and ensures that appropriate controls are in place before the task begins.